G'day, Snappers, and welcome to the Sunday Snap, coming to you through the SC Ballers feed. This is the podcast where we give our snap reactions to the NRL SuperCoach round that was. My name's Jono, coach of the Haas-Beans, and with me to talk about all the big news coming out of round 26 is a man who is fired up from a big score and ready to go. It's the coach of Tubes Pods, Tubes! How you going?
Yeah, Jono, I'm good. I've the SuperCoach gods. Actually, I'll start again. Let me put it this way: you put in the hard effort in preseason. You really set your team. You think you got to get to the end of the year, grand final week, head to head. That's when you want to put your best performance down, and that's what Tubes' pods have done this week. They didn't quite make any grand final, but they turned up on grand final day and put in a very good effort. So I'm feeling pretty good. I've had a 1700. We've had the Baller Bash this weekend, and yeah, coming off a bit of a high.
Yeah, unbelievable. I've gone, I think, above par. Do you reckon, Tubes, at 15.25? It's not the dizzying heights of what you're up to, but I think I've had a decent week. But yeah, 1,700 Tubes. It just felt like this was the one that every time a player scored a try in round 26 of the NRL, he was in Tubes pods.
Yeah, and it feels bad because I hate when people complain. Like I hate hearing Matt complain when he's up at ninth place, but I've got a little gripe, which is I've had 1,700, and all week I was bringing in Mark Nwangani-Tawase. Haven't owned him all year. Been talking him up on the snap since day dot, and thought, yeah, with my last trade I'll bring him in, and even bringing him in was going to run my bank to exactly $0. It felt like an omen. But as we talked about, we had the Baller Bash on this weekend. So you were down in Melbourne, and just a little tram conversation between you and I about Marky Mark. I'm not blaming you. And
feels like you're about to a little bit.
No. Like I own my decisions all year, and through that conversation though, I ended up deciding not to bring him in and bring in Blake Brayley from a little bit of flexibility, which would have helped with VCs and dropping outs and yada, 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 lots of reasons. But obviously then we went to the Storm game and Roosters, and it was Marky Mark had the hat-trick, 59 odd points he ended up on. And so my 1,700, which is very, very good, if I brought in Marky Mark, I would have won the Baller Run Home Challenge weekly prize this week. So
pending updates.
Geez, I would have saved that though. That would have been the one calling card for my season to come back to.
Now, first of all, Tubes, it was 4 tries for Marky Mark, not a hat trick. Let's get that right. But yeah, unbelievable. And look, you mentioned the Baller Bash. How good was it? Like your voice sounds a little bit rough, Tubes. Has the Baller Bash worn you down?
It really has. Like I was struggling from even on Friday night. I think we were cheering so loud at the ground, and then I started losing it. And geez, there's been some content this weekend too. So more to come on the socials. A podcast. We obviously did the watch along on Saturday afternoon. Into some succulent Chinese meals on Saturday night, and yeah, the voice it hasn't lasted.
It sounds very husky. That just a great group of blokes, Tubes. Like for me, I know you live in Melbourne, so you have been into Baller Towers before, but for me, so good that the boys flew us down. But getting to meet the guys behind the scenes, like absolutely ripping bunch of blokes. Like could not speak more highly of all of them individually. So much fun to hang out with. And seeing and hearing some of the stuff, the passion they're putting into Baller, and hearing some of their plans for Baller moving forward, it got me very up and about. Like I had an absolute blast down in Melbourne with the Baller boys.
Yeah, it was good. Nice game of golf on the sim. Played at Augusta, just in the Baller Towers offices. So yeah, high flying, and it was nice to just even we I think we're releasing some content, but even just starting to talk about the SuperCoach finals now coming up. It's another third chance for me to potentially do something for the season in the Baller contributors.
Yeah, and I got to say, Cheers, with this content, we did do like a bit of we had to act for one of the things we did, and I don't think I'm winning any Oscars anytime soon. I think you boys might have come off a bit better than me. But we also had our big studio watch along, which is a lot of fun, sitting in a studio like we were a proper little panel. We recorded a pod as a bit of a preview for the finals that Matt's going to put out, Matt and Graham's you put out at some point, and then did a watch along in the studio. It was just a blast of a weekend. Loved it.
You may not be able to act, Jono, but I mean, based on this weekend, you can podcast. So it was a Jono baller baritone love fest from the baller boys. Even people coming up to me, aren't you lucky to know Jono? Aren't you lucky to be on a podcast with Jono? Like, as in, I was like, yeah, he's all right. So there you go.
Oh, look, I'll take it. It's nice. I'm used to being put down by you, so it's nice to hear some feedback out of the Sunday snap bubble.
My favourite comment of the weekend was Matt saying, geez, I like having Jono around. He's the only one that could really get to tubes, or like something like that.
Actually, Matt told me that one-on-one later of last night as well. He goes, just good having you to put tubes in his place. All right, we better get into the actual show, Tubes. That's enough about the baller bash, as fun as it was. But let's start off with the rage trade segment. Now, Tubes, you normally kick us off. You're rageless. I guess in a score when you get 1,700, you're not feeling too much rage.
Yeah, it's a funny one. No rage. Like in that 1,700, isn't it crazy? My 18th man score was Sifa Talakai this week, who scored a try and had came on and busted out at 59 points. So that's how, and like it was really well spread across my team doing well this week. I'm also out of trades, like I think a lot of super coaches. I think the rage can temper this week, and you're sort of basically just looking for, there'll be so many rest-ins. Hopefully people have got a couple of trades left and can look at options for next week.
Well, I have one. I've got a rage trade. And this is a rage trade for a number of reasons to me. Now, this is Kane Bradley, who played on the left wing for the Storm. Thankfully, I didn't need to play Kane. He ended up being my 19th man, so he wasn't even in my 18th man squad. I mean, if I had a good score in a loop, he would have potentially come in. But he had 19 points. He missed 6 tackles on the weekend. He made 3 tackles, missed 6. And 4 of those 6 were on the man you mentioned, Mark Nwangani Tuase, who scored 4 tries. And how blatantly obvious, we were there live at the ground, like you mentioned. How obvious was it when the Roosters went, oh, Kane Bradley cannot tackle Mark Nwangani Tuase. Let's just pass to him and get him one-on-one. And it just came up trumps every single time.
Yeah, I think they realised that with Marky's first try, when he only literally had a metre and had to meter on the sideline and had to beat him, and still somehow did and managed to brush him off. And then from there, the floodgates did just open. Yeah, it was a tough night for Kane, and it was a tough night for Kane owners that needed him to do something with being short this weekend. So a 15. But I can't imagine you actually trading him this weekend. But yeah, good rage bait.
No, but here's why he's my rage trade, for a couple of reasons, Tubes. I don't own Mark Nwangani Tuase, so that bloody annoyed me that he kept letting Mark run past him. But secondly, we're not the kind of pod, Tubes, where we like to go really after players, but his form was so poor that I just cannot see how they pick him next week, even if the Storm have players resting. I actually probably need him next week. I'll take his 19 points next week. But I actually think he was so poor, I don't know how they can actually put him on the footy field again next week. I know that might sound harsh, but that's how I felt after watching that performance.
They don't need to win next week, do they? Could be a resting week. So, yeah, could be interesting. Bradley, who's I'm just thinking Broncos-wise, that'll be Katoni Staggs, Dean Mariner side next week.
Yeah, good place to be if he's out there. They do have Meany and Coates to come back. We'll just have to see how the restings pan out, because I doubt they're going to rest a lot of them 2 weeks in a row. I'd say a few guys are definitely getting a rest this week, and Kane Bradley might be getting a rest, not the way that he wants. Tubes, let's get on to the first game of the round, the Doggies versus the Panthers, which everyone knows the Panthers rested their whole first grade squad. I think Schneider was the only one who's in their regular 17 who did play on the weekend. The Dogs obviously won this one pretty comfortably. This was just the start of the big Tubes round, because Jacob Preston, who you own, he had 141. He got a hat-trick. He was just running great lines. The Dogs really looked to him more as an option with Billy Kickout out this week. He was just in everything, Presto.
Yeah. That connection finally came to fruition. Him and Galvin just running that. He's a great line runner, isn't he? And
Yeah.
can bust a tackle. And yeah, just I mean, he was the shining light in an otherwise pretty mediocre Dogs attack again, even against a reserve grade Penrith side.
Yeah, again, Tubes, we'll talk about resting a lot on this one because the Dogs are now set. They can't move. They're going to come third.
Serrato's already come out and
What's he said?
Not resting.
Wow.
Not resting. Yeah.
That's big. That's big for a couple of reasons.
I haven't seen the exact quote, but I saw on X a lot of chat about it. Like, effectively, definitely won't be resting to the extent. Whereas others, like Ricky, has come out and said he is. So I think Serrato's not.
Did you see Ricky's quote? We'll get to the Rose game. But he said could be 3 or 4, could be 8 or 9. So it's Ricky roulette even with how much he's going to rest.
Well, Serrato seems pretty firm on it. So
okay.
That could mean kick out back as well as Preston and the like still playing.
Yeah, well, one of the other big things you mentioned, Galvin, he obviously a really good game, 110 with a try. He had 2 assists. 2 of those were for your man Presto. The other big takeaway choose is Matty Burton, who had 87 with a try, but looks like he might have won the kicking back now. Crichton took the first couple. I think he took the first 3, missed 2, and then Galvin took all the conversions for the whole back end of the game and didn't miss a single one. Sorry, what did I say? Yeah. Galvin. Burton.
Yeah.
Burton, 3 from 3 to finish the game. So that's a bit of a shot for those Critter owners who brought him in a few weeks ago as their Herbie replacement.
Could be important for the finals series. Burton might become an option.
Run home challenge.
Talking about that.
The finals challenge.
Yeah, SuperCoach finals. Yeah, finals challenge.
Huge.
And then the other one, the one that will definitely be rested because he's injured, is Kiraz. Looked like he rolled his ankle, but it turns out it was a midfoot sprain, and he's now expected to be out 3 to 4 weeks. So that's another number gone for next week, and certainly not fantastic for the Dogs' premiership aspirations.
Oh, he's so important to them because he just gets their sets started so well nearly every single time. It's a massive loss if he's out long term. I think Kiraz himself has said he's hoping to be back sooner than what people expect, and I'm sure he wants to be because he wants to push for the finals. But yeah, 3 to 4 week injury could even be worse. And he was 47% vice captain this week. I had the VC on him, not because I thought he was the best option, but because I had to make my decision from one of the first 2 games of the round. And the right answer was probably none of them because I wouldn't have looped any of them with the scores from the guys I could have. So I think a lot of people are in exactly the same boat there. On to the second game of the round, Tubes, the Warriors versus the Eels. Watching this with Sharks fans, hoping the Warriors were going to lose, very up and about, cheering home the Eels. A little bit of a difficult cheer because the first try of the game went to Jack Williams. One of my favourite moments of Baller Bash. Just hope people aren't taking a sip of a drink every time we say the words Baller Bash on this pod. But when Jackie Boy Williams scored, and I said to you and Matt, you guys just need to admit that he actually is a good first-grade player. Like, you can still hate him, but can you admit that he's a good first-grader? You were a little bit softer on it. You're like, I don't think I can. Matt just goes, I'm never admitting he's a good first-grader. Like he said, I will never admit that.
He looked good on Friday night. I will certainly admit that. That was a nice try, and he's found a role there at Parramatta, and not dropping the ball.
It helps
as much. Yeah.
Yeah, 90
Very
points.
helpful.
90 points with a try in 80 minutes, so he's doing good things. Iyongi, 84 with a double. He's so lowly owned now that it's not really relevant. Jermaine Hopgood, Tubes, 74 points, back to 80 minutes. I think it was his first 80-minute game of the year, and he's going to be a very highly owned player to start 2026. His roles obviously trusts him now. I don't know if it was just like an injury thing. He's in that front row rotation.
It's the front row. Like, he was trying to mix him up with the lock with Walker. And his minutes went down. Like, now he's in that front row rotation. If he starts front row next year, like, he'll be a must-have. Oh,
I know. I don't see why he wouldn't. Like, it's clearly working, and Rolls likes it. They're playing good footy. What about Zach Lomax, Tubes? It just feels like he's having a bit of a disappointing finish post-Origin. He's one of the most highly owned players in the top 10%. He had 67 with 20 points in goals. His power stats, like, he was getting through his work, but not a lot of tackle busts this week, not a lot of offloads, which we're used to seeing for Lomax. What are you making of him at the moment?
Yeah, and pretty much just as you said, he's always been consistent with his power stats. There was the rumor he was going to be out last week, either injury or illness. He and then he sort of backed it up with this. Like you just never know. He could just be grinding out to finish the season. He could be carrying a few niggles, and he's still trying to very much score off those bombs, but he's probably just not getting through as much work. Still a bit, but it's more the tackle breaks and the offloads. I think that he's missing more than anything else.
Yeah. On to the Waz side of things, and I reckon Roger Tuivasa-Sheck might be Roger Tuivasa-Snap. I reckon he might be a snapper, because what about his form ever since you called him old and washed?
Lost a step. He didn't look like he'd lost a step on the weekend. 109 with a try, and he looked very, very good. I know I was cheering him with you because you had him, and he was I think was he a difference in your head-to-head final?
He was, yeah.
But also, obviously, just a nice pod to have. He 109. I'd say almost was disappointing based on how he was tracking, like along the way, like for
that's tough. Over 70 in base plus power. It's not like he scored. Like, that's 109 with one try.
Sorry. In Tubes' pod on grand final weekend, 109 was disappointing. Maybe for you, it was probably good.
Yeah, he looks awesome. So he actually hadn't, I don't think, gone over 100 since returning to the NRL last year. And now he's done it in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah.
So,
good.
Coming good. Good work, Rog. Look, there's a couple of other pods who've done well. Adam Pompey had his second 100 in the last 3 weeks. Well done, Pompey. Leka Halasima Tubes, one of ours. He had 90 with a double in only 46 minutes off the bench. He's kind of becoming in this one of the preeminent back rowers who can score off kicks now, up there with Jeremiah Nanai, up there with ECAT. He's just getting it done.
Yeah. Love Leka. Love to see him here. I can't believe you've even bothered putting these next two on the run sheet. Tanner Boyd, 87 and 70.
What's wrong with that?
Who owns him?
Well, he's 6% in the top 10%, and those people would have had to play him this week. A lot of them would have. Like, that's good going, getting an 87. I think I mainly put him on the run sheet because of that, but I also did it because I know that the Ricks boys aren't fans of Tanner Boyd. So when he goes well, because I stand by, I don't think it was a terrible option to bring in if people just wanted someone to play at a certain point. I wouldn't have done it myself and didn't, but I understood the logic behind people doing it. So it's good to see him going.
It'd be interesting after this loss and just the Warriors. Will he get dropped next week?
That'd be a disaster for those people.
Yeah. Well, do they think, like, we've got to shake this up coming into the finals? Because it looks like they're going out in, first week of the finals, right, as it is right now. And, maybe they can't shake it up. That was a terrible loss for them. They're potentially now hosting the Panthers week 1 of the finals. Like, it was just a really must-win match.
Yeah, it's tough going. And Aaron Clark, Tubes, 53, only played 48 minutes this week. It's been, again, like I said, Lomax a disappointing finish. To be fair, Lomax at least went a big score only a couple of weeks ago with some smaller ones around it. But Clark just seems to be a little bit down now for a decent stretch. Not necessarily in NRL form, just in his SuperCoach scoring.
Yeah, I suppose we've been saying all year, see what the pack looks like when it's fully stacked, and probably just hasn't helped Clark like it was early in the season.
All right, the Storm versus the Roosters, second Friday night game. We've already spoken plenty about Marky Mark. He was the big one, 158 points. A couple of other Roosters who are very relevant and very well owned. James Tedesco, 131 with a try and 3 assists. He was kind of not in many VC and C discussions this week. I think a lot of people had Turbo, Walsh, and by this third game, they couldn't quite do Teddy, and the other guys seemed like better options. But yeah, Teddy just getting it done.
Oh, yeah.
Good upgrades
big
too.
Big upgrade today too. Must have been an assist or a line break assist he got. I don't know what it was, but he went from 101 to 131 today. So, I think we discussed it on the weekend, but Sam Walker out, Teddy's a big play. Walker back next weekend. Obviously, everyone's playing him, but yeah, it'll be in both Marky Mark and Teddy going off without Sam Walker. It was, in hindsight, it was bound to happen.
Yeah, exactly. I was actually surprised it wasn't more talked about. Like that, yeah, of course it's going to happen. because that's what happens when Sam Walker's out. He's so ball dominant.
Yeah, you didn't give me that stat on the tram. Not blaming you, just saying that stat didn't get brought up.
It didn't come up, no. Connor Watson shoots 50 points in 56 minutes. The one thing that stood out to me for Connor Watson this game was he was just way more active out of dummy half than he has been in previous weeks. It felt like in that role coming off the bench, he kind of just come on and been a distributing and tackling machine. This week, he was getting up and out of dummy half, crabbing across field, busting a couple of tackles. It was easily his best game in this new role he's had since it's happened, easily.
I think similar to what we said about Lomax, you remember he had like sickness and injury rumours and he was going to miss a game and then he didn't and then suddenly he was on the bench. It'd be interesting to see. You just don't know what's happening. Like, is he something, there was something and he's back to full fitness, because he looked very much like his early season form on the weekend. I mean, I wouldn't even be shocked if he's back to 80 minutes next week, because he's their best option, and obviously coming into the finals, they'll want him to continue to fire.
Yeah. On to the Storm players, less to talk about here. Cam Munster, really disappointing. He ended up with 42 points. He's on 37 at half-time without any major attacking stats. And he was just so active in that first half. Like we were discussing, we had a really nice high vantage point at the ground. And you could just see Cam Munster just moving around, barking the troops in everything. And then just the Storm felt like they didn't touch the ball in the second half. And now I'd say there's a big chance that with the Storm not being able to move, they're stuck in second spot. He surely gets a rest this week. Like, I think he's now going to be done for the year.
Yeah. Like, it's 100%. That was his, in my mind anyway, that was his last SuperCoach game of the year for the regular SuperCoach season. So, disappointing way to go out for Munster owners.
Yeah, and probably the same thing for Pappy owners, because he's had 33 with a line break assist and he was goal kicking. I know the goal kicking didn't get him any points this week, but you would have thought he was in for a bigger score for that 6% who held him through all that period. That just has not worked out at all, with Pappy not firing and all these other gun fullbacks going off.
I must be going crazy. I thought, didn't Pappy score?
No, I don't think. No.
Nah, just a try assist. Maybe I'm thinking of his first try assist. Oh, yeah.
He didn't get a try assist, did he?
Yeah, he had a try assist.
Oh, with a try. Did he get a try
line break
assist?
assist.
Oh, I missed that. Wow.
So he had a try assist, line break assist. That's what I was thinking of. And he's had a 33 with it. Like, absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
But I think we said it when we left the game on Friday. It was a weird one. It genuinely felt like the Storm did not have the ball in that second half, and certainly not in any attacking position. So probably won't matter. They probably won't play next week, but it certainly would be a write-off of a game. And you expect them to bounce back in the finals.
Yeah. All right, the next game, this first one is Saturday, the Raiders versus the Tigers. This is the one where the Raiders clinched the minor premiership. Such a good moment. First time since 1990. I don't know, Tubes. You're probably better at finding these kind of stats than me, because you probably know a little bit more about the betting industry than me. I wonder when the last time a team who was favourite to win the wooden spoon at the start of the year won the minor premiership.
I would have absolutely no idea with this type of one. I can think of, I believe, the Sharks in 2009, 2008 were either favourite or second favourite to win the spoon, and they came third on the ladder, but equal first on points and not on for and against. So I think they finished on 36 points with the Storm and Manly. And that's only because I'm a Sharks fan, but like that's as close as I can think of. Like, it just doesn't happen, does it?
Yeah. The only other one I was thinking of maybe would have been the Tigers in 05. Well, they didn't win the minor premiership. They won the comp, but they didn't win the minor premiership. But they would have been towards the bottom in the betting at the start of the year that year, the Tigers. They weren't like a big fancy team.
Yeah.
But still not a minor premiership, so it doesn't even fit the criteria of what I'm asking. Like you said, Choose, the big news out of that is with that win, Ricky has confirmed the Raiders were resting. I was saying on the Sunday Snap for weeks, I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought because of all the buys they've had that they'd rest them in game. Got that completely wrong. And I hope it benefits the Raiders, because I'm not a Raiders fan, but I'm a Canberra boy, and I'm happy to cheer them home for the rest of the run home. A lot of the popular Raiders forwards did quite well. Hudson Young had 91 with a TC and 2 line assists. One of those was a junky one late in the game with Tarpany came through. He got 85 with a late junk assist after Hudson Young put him through a hole. The Horse, 85 with a try. He's been very up and about this last couple of weeks, the Horse. He's looking in really good form coming into the finals. And Hosking, 66 and 80 minutes. So all those guys have come out and done a really good job for their owners this week.
They sure have. The Horse was very up and about after his try.
Yeah.
Got him off the nudie run. He was looking for another, basically, after that as well. And then I think we talked about it on the watch along, but very feisty between the Raiders forwards and the Tigers
Bad
forwards
blood.
as well. Yeah, something was going on there. Chris thought it might have been something to do with Royce Hunt in the 15 or 16 minutes he was on the field, I suppose. But it's a shame that they're being rested. I think I've only got Hudson, but there could be a few out there that have 3 or 4 Raiders players coming into next week.
Oh, well, Matt, coach of the Terrace crew, who's sitting ninth coming into this round, he owns, I think, 4 of them. I think he owns Hudson, Tarpanay, Horse, and Starling. And of that group, Starling was the only one who didn't go well. He had 30 points in 56 minutes. I actually thought he had one of his more poor games of rugby league of the year. Don't know if he'll rest. It wouldn't surprise me. I think they'll get Owen Paddy more minutes, but whether or not they just keep starting in the team and just playing less. I think all those other guys, though, particularly Hudson, Tarpany, and Horse, be shocked if they weren't resting with what Ricky said.
Starling will rest. Ricky needs to give Danny Levi just one last try. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Starling rest. Spicy Tamale was back, and he
didn't look great.
Probably played his worst game of the year for the first game back. But importantly, I think, if he plays next week, and you were thinking of him as an option, which you probably aren't, but he did stay on that left wing. So Jed Stewart moved to the right to accommodate Tamale coming back.
Which is not good for Tamale. I think a lot of the people who were talking about Tamale were hoping, because Raiders generally score more tries out on that right wing. So probably a bad thing for Tamale, but he'll be better for the run. And Matt Timokor also Tubes, a bit of a letdown here, 30 points. And we spoke about Lomax and all his power stats. Timokor, king of the power stat. All he had was one tackle bust, no offloads. So not his best game either. For the Tigers side of things, the May brothers are probably the 2 most relevant Tigers now, with Adam Dewey going down. Terrell, just his standard 75 and 76 minutes. And Taylor May, 47 with a line break after he was the most purchased player last week.
Yeah, I mean, and was it Taylor v. Timoko? Just Taylor just might have just intimidated him out of it. Look, I don't think I'd want Taylor May running at me. He's a very aggressive centre, and I do like the way he plays. Without saying that I like that he's an NRL player and all of the different things that have happened with him with off-field incidents, but he is a very aggressive centre. That's for sure.
Yeah, you can only judge him for his on-field stuff now, and he's going well. Looks great. Tubes, let's get on to our favourite segment of the show. It's Ready to Explode. It's probably going to be our last Ready to Explode of the year, I reckon. Maybe, we'll see. But what I like about this one, Tubes, is that you've left the run sheet blank. I asked you, Tubes, you got to pick your Ready to Explode player, and you said, nope, not telling you, saving it for the show. What do you got?
Look, I'm picking someone that he's been going okay the last couple of weeks. I think next week he's playing for a top 4 spot.
I know who this is going to be.
It was recently announced that Adam Reynolds has re-aggravated his hamstring injury, and that means that he keeps the goal kicking and a bit of dominant play. He's coming off a 161 over the weekend, but I really think that he is ready to explode next week versus a resting Storm outfit, and that is Reece Walsh. Reece Walsh has gone in the past 5 weeks now, 134, 26, 155, 147, and 161. So he wouldn't have been considered a ready to explode player earlier in the season, but I think for me the best is yet to come this week. If you do not own Reece Walsh and you have a trade and you own Scott Drinkwater, Reece Walsh must come into your team, and you must have some type of C or VC on him for this last round.
Yeah, their first game of the round. So he'd just be so highly VC, Reese boy, this week. Very brave of you choose to pick Reece Walsh. I thought when I picked him after he's 22 as my ready to explode player for the week just a few weeks ago, I thought that with that, and that was with the Adam Reynolds news in mind. I completely agree. He's just unbelievable. We spoke a lot about who's going to be the cooler this year. For reference, we based that off Matt a couple of years ago. Was it 2 years ago that Matt brought in cooler for the last 2 rounds of the year? And like as a massive pod, and Cooler just went off and launched Matt right up into, I think, the top 50 at the time, or at least the top 100. So we've always been saying who's going to be the new Cooler for this year. With what you just quoted of all those scores, Reece Walsh is the Cooler. It's confirmed.
He's averaged 125 the last 5 weeks, and that includes the 26 in his score. It's been unbelievable, Reece ball, and it's been a joy to watch as an owner. When you say he's propelled Matt up the ranks, I think he's taken me in the last 5 weeks from 28K to wherever I am this week, but it might be pushing 10,000. Well done, Reece. And I am half joking because Ready to Explode certainly wasn't created to do shout out for somebody averaging 125 over the last 5 weeks. But I think for anyone that doesn't own him, he's the most must-have player for anyone that has a trade for next week.
Yeah, and James, you said he's propelled Matt up the ranks. Matt wouldn't like hearing that because Matt is not a Reece Walsh owner.
Yeah. So, and then, sorry,
Cooler.
Cooler.
Yeah.
Cooler a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Choose my ready to explode player is someone who had a fair bit of chat about him coming into this week, but he didn't quite do what a lot of people were hoping. He was 8% purchase this week. It's KL Iro. He had 43 in his return game. I think a lot of the reason he was talked about a lot this week was because I think a lot of people wanted that Schiller matchup. That's who he was meant to be up against. Schiller was named to be starting centre. You got KL up against Schiller. It was going to be an absolute bath. Unfortunately for KL, Gagai ended up being moved back to centre. They dropped Schiller and Fletcher Hunt became the fullback with Greg Marshall's return to the team. So I think that was a big factor. Gagai is quite a good defensive centre and he's quite physical and strong, which is where KL has it over a lot of other centres in the NRL. So I think good signs. I thought he had a really good comeback game from an actual NRL perspective. He was so close to scoring. Some people might call it a controversial decision that he didn't get a try. It might have been one of those ones that if it was sent up as a try, he kept, and then all of a sudden his score looks a lot more impressive. He's one that I'll certainly be monitoring next week. If I have to make a trade at centre next week, Tubes, I've told you what I'm doing. It's going to be Alex Johnston for me, coming in that big match against the Roosters, going for that try-scoring record. If I can make a trade at centre these, that's what I'll do. But I think KL Iro should be very high up on people's radar. A little bit disappointing now, though, that the Dogs aren't going to be resting. I kind of assumed when I picked KL as my ready-to-explode player that was going to involve that happening. But I still think he's a great pickup.
Yeah, especially if they might not rest to the full extent, but if they were going to rest anyone, it might be Stephen Crichton.
And that's the side. That's the matchup.
And that's the side, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. All right, on to our second half of the round review, and we're starting off with the Dragons versus the Seagulls. Seagulls needed to win this by a lot of points. They scored a lot of points, but they only won by 16. Tubes, I just want to start with Tommy Turbo. We're both owners, happy owners. He had 100 with an assist, a try contribution. He had 20 points in tackle bust, 2 line breaks. His running game was certainly back. It's a good score, but didn't it just feel like it could have been a massive score this week? It felt like a lot was left on the table.
He was very up and about. We all had the VC on him. We were watching with Matt, and he had the VC on him and a bit of a pod up there at the top. And when he went over for that try, and I still think it was a try, and it got sent up no try. And then I'm assuming, we couldn't hear the commentary, I'm assuming it was couldn't be overturned type situation. They looked at it for long enough. But that was the number one event. Like, that would have been another 30 points. But there was 2 others in that first half. He easily could have been going into halftime on 120.
Yeah, it was a try assist overturned that went sent up as no try too, coming off him as well. So easily could have been a massive score. So I still think he's a good own for next week. Tubes, for people who don't own Walsh or Turbo, you're definitely confident that Walsh is the right pick over Turbo for people making a drinky trade.
Yeah, only because just seeing the news, Reynolds definitely isn't back next week. Like it's just such an easy pick with that
Yeah,
team.
but I don't know. A game at Four Pines against the Wars, who are struggling at the moment. It's Daly Chervin's last game in a Manly jumper. The spirits are going to be high. I could still see a big Turbo week next week too.
Happy to have both.
Yeah, exactly. Why not both? From the drag. Oh, sorry. I'll talk about a couple of the Seagulls. I skipped straight to Turbo because I think he's the most interesting. But speaking of Daly Cherry Evans, geez, he's turning it back the last couple of weeks. 157 a try, 4 assists after his 100+ score last week, and then 2 of those assists came to big Corey Waddell. We've lamented the Seag was using Corey Waddell as a short option at the line, and this week looked like he was Sonny Bill out there.
Well, yeah, I mean, very good balls, very good line running. I don't know if he broke a tackle. He just went straight through in both those tries. But yeah, looked very good doing it. Cherry, huge score last 2 weeks. He spent a bit of time in the Tubes Pod's Supercoach team this year, so not surprising to see him peak at the right time. Didn't make the cut, but yeah, he looked. He's been a different man just the last 2 weeks. So see if it carries into next week as well.
Yeah, hopefully it does because a good cherry is good for Tommy Turbo. Like raises
Yeah,
raises all boats. The Dragons, really not much to say. Christian Tuipulotu, the money man, had 97 with a try. Big base plus power game. He went 60 plus. And LKT, Lincoln King Tongia, 60 with a try. And again, Steve, you've spoken about these guys where people might have been forced to play him. LKT is another one who worked out quite nicely. He's in 14% of that top 10%. He's had 60 points. Not as good as Tanner Boyd, but certainly better than one Kane Bradley. So well done, LKT. Onto the Cowboys versus the Broncos. Tuesday, spoken about Reese Boy. Just what a game. He was 11% captained, 10% vice captained, 15% purchase this week, all in that top 10%. And all of those people are very, very happy. Another man who was happy, Tubes, was you. You were wearing your Gehamet Shibasaki Young GI shirt as we watched this game. And he's at 109 with 2 tries and an assist. How good did Young GI look?
oh, unbelievable game. Just yeah, I mean, it started off well. Walsh to Gamet in what, like the 5th minute or something like that. And yeah, it didn't slow down too much from there. His season's just been unbelievable. Like I don't know where he's going to land, but I think it's going to be high 60s as an average. And he's just kept getting it done. And yeah, still potentially in for a big week next week as well.
It's such a great story. Like a bloke who was on a training trial to start the year, who plays Origin, has become a legitimate threat in that Broncos team. We actually had an interesting conversation, Tubes. Does Shibasaki play Origin? Is he a one and done, or does he rack up multiple Origin appearances? Where do you land? We said that before this game, and he's ended up absolutely
Yeah.
killing it. Where do you land on that? Do you reckon he ever plays Origin again? I say yes.
I say he could. I still think it's an outsider in terms of if it's flip a coin, even money. I'd probably say that it's 2/3 that he doesn't play again. If I was thinking about it from a probability standpoint.
He's a man who likes to beat the odds, Gammett. So hopefully he does there as well. Payne Haas, 91. He had a bit of a, I won't call it a junk try. It was a late try. It was probably still pretty important in the context of the game. Katapani, 90 points with a try and 3 line breaks. He might be the man with the fanciest footwork in the NRL at the moment, Katapani. And Katoni Staggs, 72 points with a try, just continuing his great run of form. Any of those Broncos boys, Tubes, you care to discuss further?
No, I thought I was disappointing in Stag's score with that try and line break. I thought he might have been on for a heater.
Mm.
And it just reminded me, I don't think we talked about it early on. We talked about but it just reminded me there. But Lauren's Broncos has been knocked off the top of the baller run home challenge
Oh, no, Lauren.
league. Yeah, and I'm gonna have to give a shout out to, as of right now, it's Scrum and Coke. Michael, coach of Scrum and Coke, has taken over. The reason it reminded me, Lauren Broncos, she's a big Katoni Staggs owner, big listener of the Snap. Uh, But Scrum and Coke has taken out the current leader, but very closely followed. The Matty Mongrels only about 29 points behind, and then Lawrence Broncos only another 6 points behind that. So
It's tight.
big, yeah, very tight 7K run home challenge still coming up. And as we talked about, I did not win the overall, the weekly prize. And that went to, it looks like it's going to go pre-updates to Timbers Men Ryan. So we'll see who that is.
Scrum and Coke, Michael, coach Scrum and Coke, he's been right up there the whole time. So well done, Michael. Yeah, it should be a tight finish next week. Tubes, yeah, I agree in terms of back to the footy. Stag, sorry, very disappointing 72 with a try. I was actually surprised when I was putting the run sheet together for the show. I was ready for him to be kind of around that 90 to 100 mark again and was a little bit surprised. But if you're an owner, you're not going to turn back a 72-point score. From the Cowboys' perspective, that really not much. They're not that relevant anymore, the Cowboys. Scotty Drinkwater's obviously they're very high. They own one. He had 64 with his only not much attack at TC, a try contribution, 20 points in goals. A little bit similar to Cam Munster. He's gone better than Munster, but in what is definitely his last game of the year, owners wanted a little bit more out of Drinky Boy.
Yeah. I wonder if they're on their Mad Monday as we're speaking. But yeah, didn't think about that. They obviously buy this week. Drinky, he looks good. I mean, the Cowboys put up a bit of a fight. I think NRL wise, I thought Drinky did play well again. But yeah, just wasn't as involved in their scoring. So, yeah.
All right, the Sunday games, the Sharkies versus the Knights on Tubes. Your boys, the Sharkies, got it done, fighting for a top 4 spot. Bit of a weird one for Nico Hines. He was by far the most captain player of the round. He was over 60% of the top 1%, 52% of the top 10% had the C on Nico Tubes. We both did. 76 points with an assist. If you had told me that the Sharks scored 40 points and that Braden Trindle went off hurt, I would have said that Nico was in for 130, 140 at least. Disappointing score with that context.
I think so, yeah. I didn't even realise, obviously. I mean, the Sharks got to 40. 2 tries off Braden Brayley.
Blake Brayley.
Blake Brayley. I combined Blake and Jaden, but Blake Brayley. So to front row forwards. So yeah, I don't know. I probably didn't I was watching, but I after the aforementioned Baller Bash, I was also looking after the kids a fair bit this afternoon, so I didn't watch it as closely. So I was sort of listening a bit, and it just felt like Hines wasn't really getting as involved as you would like in this situation. But it also did feel like the Knights put up a pretty good first half performance to start off with against the Sharks. But yeah, the fact that they put on 40 and Nico hasn't absolutely killed it's disappointing as a captain now.
Yeah, he was certainly getting a lot of touches. Like, I haven't looked at the receipts from the game, but he would be easily the top for the Sharks outside of the hooker. The commentators were actually discussing his leg was strapped up. I think it was his right quad from memory. The commentators were discussing he had like a couple of really slow runs where he just kind of really didn't do much, just got the ball and got tackled. They were discussing if that was hampering him a bit. So something to keep an eye on for Sharks fans. Obviously, anyone who owns him next week is just going to be happy to get in there, but might maybe question whether or not you can put the VC or the C on Nico next week. You mentioned Brayley Tubes. He's had a good game, 80 points with 2 assists. He was actually quite well purchased. I think he was the 5th most purchased player of the week. A lot of people looking for a Harry Grant replacement, and he's done a job for him. Ronnie Mulatalo Tubes. It surprised me to see he was in 12% of the top 10% of teams. You actually brought him in this week. He's had 106 points. It's only the 2nd hat-trick of his career. We spoke about Tubes with Chris Seamack about would the KL Iro return potentially negatively impact Ronnie Mulatalo? Because Ronnie didn't score tries outside KL to start the year. Just no concern at all.
No. One of those tries was a genuine, sweeping backline play. He was just hungry for the ball. Like, Ronnie gets in those moods, and he was certainly in a mood today, Sunday Arvo at Shark Park. So yeah, it was really nice to see, especially bringing him in. 106 pre-updates. I wouldn't be shocked to see some updates still to come in for him as well, because it definitely felt like he was very actively involved.
He even swept to the right. I don't know if you happen to see that part of the game, Tubes. Like, right in, Hines has done the dummy out to the right and gone back inside, and that was a pretty good tackle to stop him. So it could have easily been 4 tries. The other one from the Sharks, Adam Fanua-Blake, we spoke about Katoni Staggs, 72 with a try. AFB was another one who, when the game was over and I went to check the scores, he only got 72 points with that try. It's really disappointing. That's the kind of score that you want AFB to get week to week, and then the tries push him up to 100. Not great for the owners, but again, you'll take 72 points.
Yeah, you're not complaining too much, but yeah, it is a bit surprising. Minutes down a little bit, maybe because they had it wrapped up, 51 minutes. So that's probably had something to do with it as well.
Tubes, you say not to, owners won't be complaining, but I reckon Danny Boy might. I could say Danny Boy has him. I don't think he's going to be happy with that 72 and a try. From the Knights, Bradman Best was probably the only really relevant one. We mentioned Dane Gagai didn't play fullback. They reshuffled that back line. He's in 30% of teams, Dane Gagai. It's just never good if he's not playing fullback. No one would have brought him in if he was a right centre for the Newcastle Knights.
Yeah, 34 points. And it's annoying for owners. Not that probably anyone was subbing him out at that point, but they didn't announce it, or I didn't see it anywhere.
No, it was just
like they just named Hunt in the centres,
yeah,
and Gagai still at fullback. But it was clear from the first minute that was not the case.
Yeah. And Bradman Best, good game, 73 points with an assist. I thought he was by far the Knights' most dangerous player and had a really good game. The final game of the round, Tubes, was a very high-scoring affair. The Finns versus the Titans. The Dolphins kept their season alive with a win by 6 points. And it was a lot of their pod outside backs who've done a lot of the damage. And shocked me, Tubes has got an outside back who scored a couple of meat pies. It's that Nafahu, is that how you pronounce it, Tubes? Nafahu?
Yeah, I think so. Tavita Nafahu.
He 107 points with a double, and you brought him in just instead of enough a few weeks ago. I really liked it when you did. I think he looks like an absolute young gun player. You just decided to add to your squad depth, and this week you've needed to play him. He's come up massive trumps.
Yeah, I genuinely, I was going to make some fake arrogant joke there, but genuinely I brought him in because I was looking for enough, and I thought he's a warm body. He might do a job in 27 when I need the numbers. Didn't even realise that he could do a job in 26, and they were playing the Gold Coast Titans in this particular week as well. So he was marked up against who was the winger on that side of the field? Jordan de Groot. So it was a nice sort of matchup. He had the hammer inside him early on, and they were just absolutely terrorising them on that left-hand side. And yeah, I think he's quite a likely player, actually, to be honest.
Looks a
don't
weapon.
mind the look of him. Yeah.
Trey Fuller, Tubes, 104 with a try and 2 assists. I thought it was his best game this year back in the NRL. Like, obviously, he had a couple of standout games last year. He looked back to that tackle-busting live wire that we saw last year. So, well done, Trey Fuller. It's a nice story. And Cody Nikorima, who is easily having his best and most consistent year of football in his career, which is funny. Not what you would have probably had on your bingo card for this year. He's at 94 with a try, and assist, and 3 TCs. I know he was limping around a little bit at the end of the game, so hopefully for the Dolphins that he's all right, because we might have Herbie Farnworth back next week. I know I've still held on to Herbie, and the idea of having Herbie out there with Nikorima inside him is a very, very nice proposition.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't even think of that. What will that mean for Tavita and Trey Fuller, I suppose?
Probably worse. Yeah, probably worse for Trey Fuller, I'd imagine.
Yeah, true. Hammer back to fullback. Yeah.
I can't see him putting Hammer on the wing, which is the only other way it would kind of work out.
True, yeah.
JMK, Jeremy Marshall-King, he was 3% purchased this week as a Harry Grant replacement. He actually played 80 minutes in this one after not having played 80 last week and getting a big stint off the field. It's actually really interesting what they do there, Christian Wolf with Jeremy Marshall-King and my man Irish Kurt O'Donoghue, a.k.a. his name's actually Kurt Donoghue and he's Fijian. But their minutes are really up and down. Some weeks Kurt will play 60 minutes and then the next week he'll play 80 and Marshall-King will play 60 minutes. It's just a bit of an interesting rotation they do there.
So it is, but I would say it's because Irish is his utility value is so good that he covers, and then Marshall King plays 80 in those weeks. So this week, I don't know if you saw, the Hammer got injured and went down, I believe, and was off for the last 20, 30 minutes of the second half. And Irish Kurt was playing left centre and left back row. for a fair bit of time when
Lemuelu.
Lemuelu went
Lemuelu.
off on a HIA. So
No, but that
yeah, I
didn't.
think
Everything you're saying didn't affect the rotation. Like in terms of Irish Kurt had already been off the field, so like he already wasn't playing 80. Like Irish Kurt didn't play 80 this week. Whereas
yeah, but
last
he
week,
also didn't spend more time in any time in hooker that he might have otherwise spent.
possibly. What I'm saying is last
end.
week, Jeremy Marshall King came off at that point of the game, and Irish Kurt moved to hooker. Whereas this week, Irish Kurt just got taken straight off the field before there was any subs. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You give me a funny look.
Well, I mean, him moving to centre means that he can't play hooker. That clearly affects whether JMK plays 80 or not. But
no, I got you. But I completely agree with that part. Jeremy Marshall King could have come off later in the game.
Thank you. We'll move on.
All right, we will. I can't be bothered arguing about it. Judge.
It doesn't seem like it, but yeah.
What's his name? Irish Kurt, 75 with an assist. In that little stint at left centre, how good was his assist he got for your man Nafahu? Bumped it off, great catch, little offload. Good work, Irish Kurt.
Did well. And I felt like you buried the lead there. You're waiting on updates for that for your head-to-head final, whether or not he somehow sneaks in some extra points to win our cash league.
Oh, that's Bo Fermor. So Bo Fermor, we had when we did the watch long tubes a few weeks ago, it was the Penrith game, and Dylan Edwards got this try assist where it was a chip over the top. He caught it, gave quick hands. They gave 2 try assists, and at the time live, we kind of hinted that we didn't think, not hinted, we said we didn't think it was a try assist. But then by the time we came to the snap, we had 100% softened and said, no, it actually was a try assist. We were just prisoners of the moment. Bo Fermor this week they've put a grubber through for him. He's picked it up. He's broken a tackle. He's run and drawn the fullback, and he's been given just a try contribution. And it is a massive play for me because if Bo Fermor gets that try assist, I win my head-to-head grand final. And if he doesn't get it, I lose. I'm 4 points behind at the moment. To Raf, who's a baller and a snapper, he's a listener of the show, seems like an absolutely great bloke. If someone does win, happy for it to be Raf. I'd rather it be me, though, and I really want Bo Fermor to get that try assist.
If someone does win other than you, happy for it to be the other man in the grand final, the only other man that can win.
Hey, he seems like a nice bloke.
You were getting blasted, actually. You guys were being too nice and chummy with each other, wishing each other well, and the commission wanted a bit more smack talk from you. But yeah, I think it'll update. I haven't seen it, but based on the way you've described it, I think that's a clear-cut try assist.
Let's hope so. Not for Raf. Oh, yeah. Raf doesn't hope so, but you and I hope so. Yeah, for the Titans, Jaden Campbell, 91 points with a late try, 20 points in goals. Just the standard, didn't look like he did anything. Got a bit of, not junk because they were still trying to fight back, but the late try, he's busted out just a 91. It's a very JC performance, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he was sort of accumulating points the whole game, but then, yeah, that try at the end moved him into upper echelon.
Yeah. And the other relevant Titans, Big Tino, 66 in base plus power in 58 minutes. Your man, AJ Brimson, 64 points with a try. And just Keanu Kinney watched this week. It was a bit of an interesting one. So when Kinney came onto the field, Tony Francis was taken off. Bo Fermor moved to left centre in attack, stayed as a left-back rower defensively. And AJ Brimson and Kinney kind of both played a little bit of everywhere. It was a really interesting role.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say a glimpse to the future, but Des won't be coach next year, so who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, it could be interesting for next week. If it makes me happy for Brimson as a play next week, even if he's named in the Senates. Like they could just be experimenting, going for this real random attack. Yeah.
Yeah. One last little kind of mad scientist Des play before it's all said and done. Just it's roaming centres and fullbacks swapping around. It was quite cool to watch. The Kenny was just popping up everywhere, and Brimson the same. So yeah, it definitely needs to play next week for you, Tubes. Brimson in that last round. You might not have a choice, but I kind of like the way the Titans were going for it.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this on the weekend. He's been in my team all year, and he's really done a job. Like as in, all things considered.
Yeah. Tubes, that brings the round review out to a close. Look, a couple of big things coming up. The Tuesday show, Matt and some special guests will be there to take you through all the carnage, because there is going to be carnage coming into round 27 of SuperCoach. Still a lot of big swings to happen in the ranks. And Tubes, like you mentioned at the top of the show, SuperCoach finals. That's not head-to-head finals. That's the new finals league that they're starting for the first time in, I think, probably 15 years that they've done it. We have recorded a pod over the weekend giving a few early strategy, different things we want to talk about, and some relevant players. There is just more to come in that space, is all I'll say. That Baller has more announcements to come. We're not the ones to make it, but there are some big announcements coming around that competition. Yep, pretty much. All right, Tubes, bring us home.
You beauty.